Please welcome Larry Livingston. Larry?
Thank you. We begin with silence, the rarest commodity in the culture in which we are ensconced. I will speak about silence a little later. But first, let me say what an incredible honor and privilege it is to be invited to participate in this institute, a magnificent adventure in which the bodacious idea that capitalism and socialism have something to do with each other. And we are so fortunate to be led in this enterprise by John Stoner. I think you remember I mentioned yesterday, somewhat in jest, the Miller number is 7 plus or minus 2. And I said, let's use the Stoner number of 5 plus or minus 2. And I realized when I said that, it was kind of a misstep. I didn't mean we should downgrade it. I just meant that if you walk away from this experience with 5 things, you already have the gold that you came for. But if I were to calibrate the Miller number for Stoner, it would be infinity. And his capacity for support of music making stands him apart from everybody else in the industry. So I'm honored and delighted to be here. And secondly, I want to say to my good friend Tim Lautzenheiser, who is the Johnny Appleseed of our profession, who spent nearly 40 years going all over the country and the world, spreading the notion of the pure value of why doing music transforms the experience of being human and ultimately leads to understanding the human adventure itself. Tim, as a Samaritan of everything good and enduring, God bless you for helping me be in my life. Let me tell you a little bit about me. He told you a little bit. I'm an eclecticist, okay? I started out playing clarinet when I thought that would be cool. I made the mistake of thinking playing clarinet was cool. And I remember going into the cafeteria and talking to my friends who were on the basketball team, and I was telling them I was playing clarinet, and I realized that's probably not going to get me very far. But I wanted to be Benny Goodman. I'm looking for cognition here, okay? Okay? I'm not talking about the guy that has a butcher shop downtown. This is a very famous clarinet player. So I started out being a clarinet player and a piano player. My dad was my high school band director. My great-grandfather was the ceremonial town trumpet player. My grandfather was the town violinist and played in a dance band. And with my grandmother, who played C melody high-pitched saxophone in the dance band. So that's the provenance of my genetics as a musician. Then my father was a composer. He wrote Eastern Michigan's Fight Song. He was a jazz player. He was a teacher. He started the string program in a school which was already flourishing with band, realizing that there is never enough kids involved in music. And so he said, we've got this tremendous junior high school band. It's not enough. We need to add orchestra, which is going to be a theme I'll get to in a minute for this whole presentation. I spent my early years playing clarinet, and I went to the University of Michigan. I became a music ed major and a performance major. And I drove the school bus when I got my first teaching job so the 7th grade and 8th grade bands could rehearse together. Sound familiar? So I've lived it, and for that reason, I see myself as part of an ecological adventure. We're all in this together. You, Yo-Yo Ma, everybody. We're all trying to bring the magic show of music to children, and we are so fortunate to have this vehicle, which unto itself is as sacred an utterance as God has ever imagined. I was the vice president of New England Conservatory of Music, and the dean of the Shepherd School at Rice, and ended up being the dean of the Thornton School at USC. So I was an administrator. While I was at New England Conservatory, James Taylor's brother, whose name I'm not making this up, is Livingston Taylor, he called me on the phone one day, and we ended up writing pop songs together. So I dress like this, go to work at the conservatory, then I go home and take this off, put on my t-shirt, and we'd write rock and roll together. So this is kind of an eclectic life that I've led in music, and I have indeed loved it. When I was at USC, I was invited to join the board of the Guitar Center. I don't play guitar, but I was on the board of the Guitar Center. And it was a tremendous adventure, and it left a tremendous impression on me because I finally found out that business practice at the highest level is indeed an ethical enterprise. Not every story is the Enron story. And it left a wonderful impression on me. And you know, when you think about the impression you leave on your children, let me tell you a little anecdote. The other day was talking to a guy who lived next to a freeway in LA for 10 years, right by the freeway for 10 years. And I said to him, "Did that have any effect on you?" And he said, "No, no, no, no." The effect that you have on your children, those of you who are teaching now, and those of you who are going to go out and do that, is really one of the great gifts that we have. And I cannot tell you what a thrill it is for me to look at this room full of heroes, people who have recklessly, bodaciously dedicated their lives to make no money, work 24/7, not be able to buy a Lexus right away, while your friends have all kinds of nice things going on. And your willingness to give your life to children is an unsurpassable magic comment on your worth as a human being. Let me tell you the effect. These are so cool. Oh, sorry, okay. I hope you drum every day. It's really good. My high school class, there's some of us still alive, believe it or not. And we had our 55th class reunion a few years ago. And what was wonderful is my friends who played in my dad's high school band went back into the school, opened the band room door, and those kids all sat in the chairs they sat in 55 years ago. So if you're wondering if you're having an effect, let that anecdote hopefully give you encouragement. You, in fact, have chosen the right thing to do with your life. And let me just say, while you're here, while you're at CSI, learn everything you can, write stuff down, take stuff home. But I want to suggest to you that when you go home, you look in the mirror and say, "Damn, I'm doing the thing that I wanted to do with my life, and I am good at it." Say that now. Damn, I'm doing the thing, and I'm good at it. Attitude and self-belief is everything. Beckett said we are doomed to fail again, and fail better. So it is with great humility that I stand in front of you and think about how this long arc of my life has taken me to this place. And so let me move to some thoughts and suggestions I have that I hope you may find of value. Everything is personal. First rule. I'm going to read you something that I think is really powerful. Do you mind? I have come to the frightening conclusion that I am the decisive element. Me! It is my personal approach that creates the climate. What do?
I'm a PhD candidate at Kansas State.
Oh, good for you. You're at a wonderful school with Frank. Oh, yes. My God. When you go to sleep tonight, you say, "Thank God for Frank," okay? Yeah.
Well, damn, I will.
Okay. Are you doing a PhD or DMA?
PhD.
Good for you. I love that. What's your name?
Jake.
You're right. Okay. It is my daily mood that makes the weather. I possess tremendous power to make life miserable or joyous. I played with Ravelli. I can tell you what the miserable part was like. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or humor, hurt or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis is escalated or de-escalated. and a person is humanized or dehumanized. If we treat people as they are, so beautiful. If we treat people as they are, we make them worse. If we treat people as they ought to be, we help them become what they are capable of becoming. So put that in your hard drive. Goethe, the great 19th century Deutsch poet. Okay, rule number 1, teach them so they can do it forever. I'm sure you've heard it from other people here. They want to do music, and you provide them sufficient enlightenment, and when they're my age, they're still doing music. I don't care about kids going to Juilliard. I mean, of course, it's fine. And anecdotal evidence about successful teaching means that maybe one of your kids goes to Juilliard. I'm interested in the rest. I'm interested in how many of those kids keep doing music forever, as though it was the most important thing in their lives. Weekend warriors, dilettantes, amateurs who will play viola in a mediocre string quartet in Keokuk, Iowa, while working all week as a lawyer, can't wait to get home and play viola. So the whole idea of teaching for the long haul, a permanent commitment, having your students think about the future and how can we equip them so that they are capable of doing that. And it's about enlightenment. So I want to talk about conceptual teaching and rehearsing, circumstantial rehearsing. Trumpets, you're too loud. Conceptual rehearsing. Trumpets, you're too loud because in this situation you have long notes. And in general, write it in your forehead, long notes are not important. Whoever told you don't sit on a long note is wrong. Cellos, you're rushing. Circumstantial rehearsing. Conceptual rehearsing, cellos, you're rushing because you have fast notes. And in fast tempo music, all the people with the fast notes want to run. So the idea is for you to help your students build a whole dictionary of tools so that they can be free of you. And in that same spirit, I want to encourage all of you to do chamber music. The idea that your kid has to have a band to play in makes a limited number of options for the future. So have a, what do you do?
I teach 6 through 12 band.
Oh my gosh, 6 through 12 band, stand up. Okay? When you get up in the morning, what's the first thought you have?
Where do I have to go? I drive between elementary school and the
So you're an itinerant teacher.
only in the mornings.
Okay, good. So let me suggest what I'd love to have you say when you get up in the morning.
Yes.
How can I help? How can I help? Okay? That's what we're here for. It's all about helping. So the idea here is to give them a set of tools for how music works so that they can be independent of you. So if you have, how many of you are teaching now have chamber music? How many of you have chamber music with student running the ensemble? Please let the student do that, because ultimately what that will create is make the kid free of you. What do you want for your high school band kids? I know what I want. I did 1 year. I wanted the kids in my band to be able to conduct the band. And I wanted to equip them with enough enlightenment so they know how the heck to do that. How can a student stand in front of a band? We need to give them enlightenment and information they can do it. The math teacher, the French teacher, the geometry teacher, all the teachers in school are hoping that what they're teaching lingers and resonates and becomes useful. So let me tell you what I call the two-letter story. The French teacher is teaching French, and let's say, what's your name?
Joseph.
Joseph Rodriguez, stand up. What do you do?
I'm a sophomore at Butler.
What do you play?
Tuba.
I forgive you, okay? Okay, and by the way, the term tuba did not come from someone hearing it and saying, too bad, okay? Okay, so here's the deal. The French teacher has you in French class, all right? You take French from 6th grade through 12th grade. Then you enter a contest and you win a trip to Paris. True or false? Your teacher is so happy about that, she can't wait for you to call her and say, I won a trip to Paris, will you come with me and translate? Good answer, sit down, dude. Why would we want less for our students? Why would we want them to let the clarinets rust in the attic? Why wouldn't we want them to do that forever, to create an army of people who are present in their lives? We have managed to create a society of observers. What we've got is people who watch TV and eat TV dinners. You only get these days, and then you're going to die. And it's between the birth and death where your life happens. The dash in the cemetery is all you have. And what you want is to rock and roll during the dash. And to do that, you need to be present in your lives. Are you from Nevada?
Yes.
Oh, man. What a wonderful state. Did you go to Vegas?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. I went to Vegas once, and it looked like if there was like a nuclear war and Las Vegas survived, we could recreate a few of the major cities of the world. Fake Paris, fake Germany. Oh, my God. By the way, I was going to ask you a question. If you shoot a mime, do you have to use a silencer? I'll write these out next year. So filling the world with amateurs and dilettantes. So to that end, I want you to do something now that was a primary exercise and test of our flexibility in my class reunion. See who can stand up. Let's all stand. I'm going to sing a song for you, and then you're going to sing it back to me, okay? And here's the song. It's a rip-off of an old pop song with my words. From now on, music's something that I'll always do. 1, 2, 3.
From now on, music's something that I'll always do.
All right, next year I'll bring a PowerPoint with big fucking letters. Jesus. How hard is that? From now on, music's something that I'll always do. All right, once again. 1, 2, 3. From now on, music's something that I'll always do. Now in harmony. 1, that means chords. Because I know all of you every day use your theory class in your rehearsals. Yes? Correct. Yeah, right. Here we go. 1, with harmony. 1, 2, 3. From now on, music's something that I'll always do. Oh, my God. So beautiful. Sit down, fool. So good. So beautiful. Sit down. Really, really gorgeous. By the way, speaking about conceptual teaching, I'd want to make sure that I know our string people, raise your hand. All the string people here. Okay. I am so thrilled that we've started to add this element to the index of who attends this institute. But I want to tell you a little story about violas. Okay. All right? And for you band people, violas are the equivalent of alto clarinet. All right? So these two violas, we were living in LA and are thinking, we've always wanted to go to Disneyland. Let's go. So they get in the car, and one of them's driving, the other one's a passenger, and they're on a freeway, and they see a sign, and it says, Disneyland left. So they went home. Forgive me. Point number 2. Playing forever, go on forever. Run 5 and 10-year studies of your alumni and find out what they're doing. You want a metric that's really important for your education? How long does it endure? Because we know oxytocin and dopamine is being fired by the neurotransmitters all the time we do music. It makes us smarter, safer, and spiritually healthy. So keep track of them. Second point I want to make is broaden the base. How many of you are band people? Okay, good. Put your hand down. How many of you are music educators? Okay, so that's what we're going to use as the rest of the time we're here. Okay, I grew up in band, I love band, but you are a music missionary. You are an educator whose commitment is to bring the magic of music, irrespective of its style and form. How many of you listen to your students' MP3 players? Okay, I just want to make sure you're teaching them. You realize you're teaching them. You're not teaching people who look like me. You're teaching them. So do you listen to Drake? Mumford & Sons? Rat-a-tat? Muse? Coldplay? Okay. I ask you to do that because the reality is that what they are doing has its own musical power. And in the old days, when I was young, around the invention of letters, if you wanted to do music, you had to go play in the band or study with a town piano teacher. Now technology's made them free of us. They don't need us at all anymore. So I would like to imagine a program and a curriculum that goes like this. You want to do music, come and see me. Ken Knappensberger, who was Teacher of the Year 3 years ago, teaches in a little town in New York. He's a farmer. And he teaches music in the school, and his motto, you want to be in music? Come to see me. I take everybody. Everybody can join. So imagine a program in which actually the metric is what percentage of kids in the school are doing music. And I sometimes work in parts of the country, I can't say where, Texas, where there's a tendency for the band director to go, Livingston, we have really got this made. How do you know? Only 7% of the kids in our school are in the band. Oh, really? Yep, you got to play LeBlanc, you got to play Conn-Selmer, you got to play great musical instruments, etc. You got to take lessons, and we compete like crazy. What about the other 93%? So I want you to think about the other 93%. What are you going to do to get them? And to get them, you need to broaden the base of options. What can I do? Do you have rock and roll ensemble in your school? Wait a minute. Blue Man. You're not in a group, I see, but you're still Blue Man. I know you from before. We've been dating for years. What the hell is your name? Joe. Okay, good. So you have a rock and roll ensemble? Okay, everybody, when you go to dinner, sit with him. I'm not here to advocate rock and roll as the sine qua of life. I'm here to say that it's another way to invigorate your school. If you have a huge musical repertoire, the band room becomes the music room, and all kinds of music can happen in that room. There's a high school in New York, Nassau County, Syosset High School. I went there to see what it was like. I thought it was going to be like going to a Texas high school where you've got a moat and a drawbridge to the band room, and there are 85 assistants, and there's 400 tubas lined up along the back wall. I went to the school, lockers falling apart, some of the chairs don't work. It looked like my high school. 53% of the students in Syosset High School are doing music. The 4 choirs, 4 orchestras, 3 bands, show choir, rock and roll ensemble. And I watched a man named Larry Ballaroo rehearse the band. And he did, I'm going to sit next to you for a minute, okay, because I'm old. What's your name?
Ian.
I don't care, okay. I watched Larry Ballaroo rehearse the band, and his whole rehearsal was question and answer. He never said, I know everything. He was not the sage on the stage. He was the guide on the side. And he made it his pedagogy that every student had to participate in the discourse. And the band was really great, and I said, gosh, I'm so impressed. And he said, yep, we got 4 bands. I said, oh my gosh, tell me about the second and third bands. He said, actually, the second and third bands are 1 band, but we don't have a room big enough for them. Do you love that? We don't have a room big enough for all the kids. God, I love that. And I said, well, tell me about them. Thanks for your time, okay? Okay, I'm already married, so no chance. Okay, all right. So I said, so the 4th band stinks, right? He goes, no. The 4th band's really good. Well, why are you in the 4th band? All the 4th band kids are smart as heck. They're going to Harvard. They don't have time to practice, but we don't want them to quit. So he has a 4th band that's all based on the very mantra I'm trying to tell you. Teach them forever, keep them in the program, and broaden the base. And I cannot tell you how important it is to include more kids. And I know it's hard to be teaching right now because you're teaching millennials. You know what a millennial is, right? You know that story about millennials? This genie shows up, and he's only got 1 wish he can give, just 1 wish. And he says to this guy, I've got 1 wish, and we're pretty good at whatever. Just tell me what you want. And the guy says, really? I'm my own genie? Oh, my God. You know what? I've always wanted to see us build a suspension bridge, a 4-lane suspension bridge from the United States to Europe. And the genie goes, well, you know, we're good at granting wishes, but I'm not even sure that's possible in terms of physics. A 4-lane bridge over thousands of miles of ocean? Not sure we can do it. You know what? What's your second choice? And he said, can you explain millennials to me? And the genie said, how many cars do you want us to put on that bridge? So I understand the challenge you're facing, but it's understanding and groping with and coping with challenge that allows us to grow. So adapting your programs to expand other possibilities, mariachi, world drumming, Darcy Radcliffe animated the orchestral program in Abilene, Texas by using West Country Swing. She has a West Texas swing band called Revolution, and the cool thing is to be in Revolution, you also have to be in the orchestra. That's how she rebuilt the model. So the kids don't need us. They already have music. I encourage you to invite them to the party, to your room, to your space, and to turn your music room into an eclectic, incredible gymnastic event in which all forms of music can happen. Now, I know some of you are going, but I don't know how to teach rock and roll. Okay, life's about change and growth. Buddha said, things change. There are places where you can learn how to teach these other things. And for me, the greatest growth moment happens in life when I'm uncomfortable. Not when I'm comfortable. Seeking the difference, seeking what's out there. This is how we get better. This is how we explain the entire adventure of living. So I cannot tell you how important it is for you to broaden the base. Now, the second one is a little bit touchy, but I'm still going to go for it, so deal with it. Despite the message being sent by certain individuals in the United States, I won't mention whom, are abandoning the world and becoming America only, in my view, is not necessarily good for our students. So, exploring the music of other cultures and other worlds is, to me, a fantastic way through the music program to bring them to what it's like to be a citizen of the planet. And I encourage you to look at options to do that. There are websites that I can show you where you can track, what could I do if I wanted to teach African drumming? What could I do if I wanted to teach the scalar formulas of Korea? How can I make that happen? And I'm encouraging you to do that because it will include more students, it will enrich the life of your music program, and it also, from a sociological standpoint, is an unbelievably powerful device. Are you tracking this? I'm sorry to be shouting, but you know, when we're done here, I will have dinner with you, and then you can attack me, all right? And maybe you can help me understand, why did the chicken go to the seance? Why did the chicken go to the seance? To get to the other side. Now, wait a minute. Do I need to repeat these? Oh, my God. You do know the difference between Pinocchio and Justin Bieber, right? Someday Pinocchio will be a real boy. So the first point was, teach them so they don't need you. Teach them so they go on without you. The second point is broaden the base, more kids involved. Be an exoticist. Be willing to expand the platform. Point 3, our students live in a world of noise and speed. Everything's loud, multitasking, Twitter accounts. They're in an assault environment. Abercrombie and Fitch at the mall. When I go by the Abercrombie and Fitch place at the mall, this is what I do. Boom! Because the loud music that's coming out of there reminds me that fundamentally it appears that Americans are afraid to be alone with their thoughts. And this world of speed and loud and noise, while useful in its own way and it's not going away, causes, in my opinion, epic human imbalance, which is why I started this session with silence. I want to encourage you all to create musical experiences for your students, and we're going to do a couple of experiments in a minute, that pursue autonomous sensory meridian response. Write it down. ASMR, autonomous sensory meridian response. There's a great deal of research going on. These are techniques being used by psychologists to promote relaxation, to help people who have sleep problems, etc. And there's a physiological reaction that happens in the very back of your neck, and it's like, you know what a frisson is? Frisson, that's a French word, it means a thrill. This is the opposite. This is inducing serenity and calm. And the music our students listen to on their MP3 players is all beat-driven. It's all dance music. Nothing wrong with that, but it's incomplete. The human adventure needs also the opposite, a sense of reflection and meditation and quiet. And to that end, I'm suggesting that you avoid playing only music that's beat-based. And in some cases, it's very difficult to do because the publishers, wonderful as they are, crank out pieces every year, which frankly to me sound like last year's piece with a different title. Drums beating, cymbals crashing, trumpets playing fanfares, flutes and piccolos playing fast runs, etc. Now, I'm not saying that music is worthless, it's just incomplete. So, in my view, you should be looking at music that calls for the opposite, music which is not rhythmic, music which is not dance-inspired. We live in the attention economy. Everyone's fighting for you. Don't touch the remote. We need something different. So, to that end, I'd like to suggest the following. In your rehearsals, use whispering. Start the rehearsal with 2 minutes of silence. Provide a sanctuary of grace and quietude for your students. Provide an environment which disconnects them from the raucousness that governs their lives. Where's my pianist? Are you going to do this for me, Emma? I'd like to try a warm-up that I've never tried before. Do you mind? Okay? And here's how it's going to go. And I'm suggesting you try this with your band or orchestra. We use B-flat, not because we're ignoring orchestra. We're going to use the B-flat in just a minute. And what I want you to do is I want you to stand up. And this is my good friend Emma. Emma, can I tell them a story about you? Look at her. Is she beautiful? Is she great? Do you know she's 57 years old? She's been very kind to help me. So this is how this is going to go. She's going to play very gently a B-flat drone and keep the sustain pedal down. I want you, when you feel ready, to sing on the syllable O, a B-flat, and then when I gesture, could some of you add the fifth? That's F for you theory geniuses. And in whatever register works for you, and then the D. I'll gesture the D. And then, as I begin to conduct after that, very gently, I want you to move as you wish to adjacent pitches, as long as they're in the B-flat scale. Everybody clear? So we're going to call this the Singing Instrumentalists of Conn-Selmer Institute create the arc of beauty. All right? and back home. Oh my God. The beauty that's nested in simplicity is heartbreaking. It's so beautiful. You feel the idea of this? What this does to the atmosphere in your rehearsal room. It completely redefines how you begin. And then you want to work on, as I'm studying Rosenkavalier Suite now and Shostakovich. But before I do that, I want to have this moment of communion with the idea of pure beauty. Just to honor, and Emma's become a piano virtuoso now, just to honor that, could we switch to the pitch A? That's a half step below. This is in honor of the wire choir, the orchestra people. And this time, I'm going to make a little shape crescendo diminuendo, if you don't mind, okay? So we do it again, and you come and sing whatever you want. As Miles Davis said, there are no wrong notes, okay? Now again, moving in the A environment, whatever pitch you want. And now home. Sit. Sit down. Sit down. So I'm looking at this child over here, this wonderful wizard named Mary who moves into a room and ignites the room with this radiance from inside. And you now have another idea you can talk to your music ed students about. Absolutely. Autonomous sensory meridian response. We've never needed it more in this world that we live in. If you don't think I'm right, if you ever watch Big Bang Theory, I'm sure a lot of the kids go, oh, yeah, I like that. Laugh track rhythm every 3 or 4 seconds. Why? They don't want you to touch the remote. Watch the Andy Griffith Show. 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 25 seconds. Why? Because we've compressed everything. Now everything is about attention, and the forcing of this on us has created, in our own mentality, a kind of speed addiction. I don't mean the drug, I mean the tempo addiction, and we need the other. If Benjamin Franklin came back here right now, I think he'd be knocked out by all the stuff we can do. He'd be thinking, I'm going to get me a Twitter account. But at some point, he'd be going, what happened to person to person? What happened to the art of letter writing? What happened to a dialogue of reflection and quietude? What happened to civility? What happened to serenity? The very things that he loved, because the loudest sound he would ever have heard would have been an occasional cannon going off or horses' hooves on cobblestone. And we live in a world that's completely the opposite. So I urge you to be a missionary of serenity and quietude. Autonomous serenity meridian response. Last point I would like to make. How am I doing on time here? Oh, I'm sorry. Let's improvise. That's going to do it right now, okay? On your legs. Here we go. Improvise something fast. No, sit down, okay? We're going to use, these are your hands, okay? Let's create a little ripple improvisation. I'll start over here when I get to you. Start beating slowly and then speed up. We'll start over here. Improvise something. I just did that spontaneous. Be spontaneous in your rehearsals. Be vulnerable. Be present. Be alive. And look for the albedo, which is a term from astronomy, the light in their eyes, the light reflected by them. Thank you. A little instant drumming. Teach your kids to improvise. Modeling adult behavior. Fred Rogers was right. It's not enough to do well. It's important to do good. When your students look up at you and they're spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours with you, what we owe them is how we want them to be as citizens in the world. Kind, compassionate, humble, and attentive. Alice Kahane was a young woman who was with her brother in 1938 in Germany. And she was told, we're going to go on a train trip. So she got dressed, and she told her brother, hurry up, get your shoes on. They went to the train. They got on the train. They were surprised to find the train was jammed with children. She looked at her brother's shoes, and she said, Joseph, we're supposed to be doing something important. Your shoes aren't even tied. You never are organized. They were headed to Auschwitz. This is the last time she spoke to him. Modeling the notion of adult respect and care for humanity, the ability to look at every human being as sacred and beautiful, and to evoke the notion of love, irrespective of how difficult it is, how many problems you are facing, how impossible a child might be. Living in the most impossible child is a child who wishes to be happy and free. Treating every human being as though he or she were sacred. Looking for the better in every student, looking for possibility. I was doing Shostakovich Symphony No. 5. How many of you know that piece? Now let's start with Shostakovich, okay? Okay, great Russian composer. There's an incredible moment in the Shostakovich first movement. It's the Fibonacci, the golden mean moment. You know what that is, all right? And the horns play this incredibly high, difficult music. And I was doing it with a great pro orchestra. And it was not good. We had a lot of what I call burgers and fries from the French horns. You know what that is, right? Missed harmonics. If you think playing French horns easy, try it. So I stopped the orchestra and I said, you know what? Let's do it again. Let's do the horns alone. But before you play horns, I want you to look at it in quietude. Just look at it and imagine what's needed. Imagine what you need to do, and now vicariously play it. Don't play it actually, but feel as though you're playing. Simulate playing. And we did it again, and it was perfect. And I said, I didn't make you better. I found the better you already had. Look for the better they already have, and you will set them free so that they can have the power of a sense of self-worth. Do you know who Michał Csikszentmihalyi is? You know the word flow? What it means to be in flow? Being in flow means mind like water state. You're unaware of your surroundings. You're just in the moment. That's what we want our rehearsals to be. So the student is free to be in flow. And every student wants two things. Wants to be known as an individual, that means being differentiated, and wants to be part of something bigger, integrated. Differentiation and integration. And Csikszentmihalyi made up this concept, which is so apt, and it is so critically important that our students be present in the rehearsal. So I want to assign you something, and I'm coming to every one of your houses next year to see if you did it. Do something without the music. Conduct something, teach something without being a prisoner of the music, so that you can do the eye communication directly with your students, and you can make something that is only in that moment. And if you get lost, you know what's going to happen? We're still going to have global warming. We still have problems. You are not responsible for solving the entire dilemma of the planet. Have the courage to do something without the music. Learn their names and learn about their realities. In Saline, Michigan, where I did the 7th and 8th grade band, we were taking the band to the contest. And this is what I did. I was a graduate of Ravelli's band, and I was so determined that we get straight ones. We practiced Panis Angelicus, a piece I will never listen to again, 500,000 times. I completely forgot about sight reading. So when we got to the contest, we got straight ones in the concert part of it, and in the sight reading, my band sounded like a bunch of people had been chosen at random from town and given instruments just to play. But I was very concerned because my principal oboe player was, like often in your school, I'm sure you have this too, well, the only oboe player that I have that can play. And all of a sudden, the day before the contest, she sounds awful. And her name was Sarah Law. I can still see her sitting there. I said, Sarah, come on, we need you. And she was weeping. And I said, okay, let's talk. She said, you know, I'm really sorry to disappoint you in the band, but my mother has breast cancer. We just found out. And I'm having a hard time keeping it together. And I realized that the real blessing we have is to get to know each of these people as personalities, to know the story. And I said to her, Sarah, I tell you what, why don't you not even go to the contest and stay home and be with your mom? So the ability to look at the personal, incredible purity of the human beings you're working with is so essential. In an earlier iteration, I probably would have been mad because she was letting me down. Take me out of it. Take the me out of it. It's about others. Generosity, humility, acceptance, compassion, forgiveness, gratitude, and perspective. These are the pillars of joy of the Dalai Lama. Read the Book of Joy, which is a meeting of the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and you will see a way to be in the world. We are all nothing more than a collection of others, and I am proud to say that I'm a feminist. And the reason I'm a feminist is two things. First, it's your turn. Your turn. And second of all, I'm a feminist because I'm a humanist. So I'll leave you with maybe a little anecdote. This guy walks into a bar, and he doesn't have any money. He's got a briefcase. He puts the briefcase on the bar. He says to the bartender, I don't have any money, but I'm really thirsty. If I show you something amazing, will you give me a beer? And the bartender says, yeah, but I better be amazing. So the guy takes a little hamster out of his briefcase, puts it on the bar, and a little piano, and the hamster starts playing Chopin on the piano. And a lot of the people in the bar are going, oh my God. But the bartender goes, well, you know, I've seen amazing things before. Is that all you got? And the guy goes, oh my God, this is a hamster playing the piano. Come on, give me a break here. Really? So, okay, so he takes a frog out of his briefcase, and he puts the frog on the bar. And now the frog starts singing Frank Sinatra's hit My Way, while the hamster accompanies the frog on the piano. And the bartender says, okay, you got it. Finally, that's enough. Here's your beer. One of the patrons in the bar comes up and says to the guy, I'll give you $1,000 right now for that frog, that singing frog, the one that was accompanied by the hamster. And the guy goes, okay, fine, sold, sells it to him. The bartender goes, well, what are you doing? You sold that singing frog to that guy. It's a miracle. And the guy goes, yeah, I know. The hamster is a ventriloquist. So, I have taken in these presentations over the years to improvise at the end. And my improvising is always without preparation. I stay vulnerable. I am not a great pianist, despite our wonderful attribution from Tim, but I do it with my students at the college level and even in professional circles, because Andre Previn, who is an old friend of mine, told me once, I asked, you know who Andre Previn is? I asked Andre once, why do you keep playing piano? You're a conductor. And he said, because when I play piano with my orchestra, they know I'm putting my neck in the noose. They know if I miscue the oboe when I'm conducting, that's one thing. But if I make a mistake on the piano, everybody knows. So he said, I want to put myself in the same arena of risk that they live in. So with that thought in mind, I make something brief now to say thank you for being part of my life. I am so fortunate that I get to spend time with you, and I'm hoping at dinner some of you will hang with me and ask me hard questions and truly bring the light of the beauty of who you are into my heart and into the possibility of what human beings get to do when music is the process by which we interact. So before I play, I want to leave you with this thought. Don't ever discount the wonder of your tears. They can be healing waters and a stream of joy. And sometimes they are the best words the heart can speak.
Let's thank Larry one more time.
Okay. I had two things I wanted to share with you. I forgot to tell you, okay? One is, before I was preparing this presentation, I do these a lot everywhere, but they're never the same. I always, for whatever reason, my wife says, why not just keep doing it? I can't. I had the good fortune to have a chance to have a meal with the Russian chess champion, Garry Kasparov. Everyone know who Garry Kasparov is? Great Russian, only lost to the computer. Great chess champion. And we were eating on a checkered tablecloth. It took him 2 hours to pass me the salt. And I think I might have mentioned this to one of my classes, but I was watching the Boston Marathon last year, which I used to run the marathon before I realized it destroys your knees. And I was watching the marathon, and I saw this one guy was dressed like a chicken, and this other guy was dressed like an egg. And I thought, this could be interesting. See the chicken and the egg? Oh, Jesus, okay. Listen, you are very kind and thoughtful people, and the beauty that resonates from you is one of the reasons I come back here, is to really live at the altar of such eloquence and such care for humanity, which you exhibit all the time, every day in your classes. And I mean it when you go home, damn, I am doing what I want to do with my life, and I am good at it. Be well, be safe, okay? Thank you. Thank you.